Hello, this is Hai Dang. Greeting all the listeners who are tuning in. Today, I want to share with you a story about life. A story that is not beautiful, not rosy, but very real. Life is sometimes unfair. I was born into a family that was not wealthy, but not poor either. My family had my grandmother, my parents, and me when I was 6 years old. Following the wave of overseas labor, my mother went to Taiwan to work as a domestic helper. From that moment on, my childhood was no longer complete. My father was hot-tempered, and he loved gambling. After my mother left, the person who loved me the most was only my grandmother. As for my father, even a small mistake could lead to a beating. It hurt, not only physically, but deeply in my heart. Gradually, I became afraid of interacting with others, especially strangers. I lost interest in school. I avoided the outside world, and I found joy in video games. Only there could I truly laugh. In middle school, I began skipping classes. Almost every week, I was beaten by my father. The beatings were painful, but the pain in my mind was far worse. It pushed me to hate school even more, to sink deeper into games. When I was in 8th grade, my mother had been away for 10 years, and finally decided to come home for good. I once believed that when she returned, everything would change, that I would be cared for, that I would be understood. But no, my mother didn't understand what I wanted. She only thought I was a bad kid, mischievous, addicted to games, while in reality, no one in the neighborhood had ever said I was rude or ill-mannered. My father continued gambling. Every year, he fell into debt, sometimes 50 million, sometimes over 100 million. And the only person who always stood by my side was still my grandmother. I was already in 8th grade. I was growing up. I wanted to buy my own clothes, but my mother worried that I would take the money and spend it on games. She didn't understand that, at puberty, being taken shopping by parents can feel embarrassing. Every time I argued back, the result was always another beating. And after each one, only my grandmother would hold me in her arms and comfort me. She understood me. She also understood my father. In fact, she herself had been beaten by him before. After finishing 9th grade, I quit school and went to work, while my friends were given phones by their parents. In 7th or 8th grade, I had to work to buy one myself, even though my family's conditions were not worse than others. By my second month's salary, my parents even asked a coworker to take my pay. I felt resentful, and I quit. At one point, I wanted to learn to operate excavators, like other kids, whose parents bought them motorbikes, worth 20 million. But I had to buy even my phone myself. The training didn't cost anything. I only needed to borrow a cheap motorbike, worth less than 2 million. Yet no one would lend it to me. The resentment grew stronger each day. I decided to work far from home. I rarely returned. Then, when I was 16, my grandmother passed away. The person who loved me unconditionally was gone. From then on, I almost never wanted to go home. I struggled and hustled in society for many years, and eventually, I achieved a little success. In Vietnamese society, no matter how parents are, they are still your parents. When I had money, I treated my parents very well. I only regret one thing. When I finally had some success, the person who loved me the most was no longer there for me to repay. I once thought that if I lived well, my parents would understand me. But no, human nature often remains the same. When I became successful, I gave my mother 300 million. Later, when I struggled and wanted it back to do business, she said she had used the money to buy land. A piece of land I had never seen, and one she never discussed with me. At that moment, I truly understood something. There are some people, no matter how well you treat them, you still cannot change how they treat you. Life is not always fair, but what matters most is that you have lived kindly, with a clear conscience. Thank you for listening to today's story with Hai Dang. I wish you a peaceful day, and I hope to see you again in the next story.